welcome to the podcast, Telling the Tale. I'm your host, Mitchell Farley Wolfe, and as per usual, I'm joined by co-host Dustin Jackson. Hey, Dustin, how's it going?
It's going great, Mitch. Now, I know we're on the last episode today, but I don't want you to cry, Wolfe.
Okay. Thanks, bud. And, well, it's not just us two today. In a very exciting first for the Telling the Tale podcast, we are joined by a guest. We've brought her up. We've brought up her name in a couple episodes as someone who's been following along. And this time she's been playing along with us, so we thought, you know what? Perfect opportunity. She should join us for the last episode, talk it out. We don't get guests very often, so I'll be the first one to admit, we don't know how to do it. But welcome, Courtney Svatek, who is a prolific Twitch streamer, artist of many different colors, webcomic author and illustrator, just an important person all around. Hello, Courtney.
Wow, thanks. You made me sound really cool. A lot cooler than I actually am.
I'm underselling, if anything.
I haven't been so prolific lately because I got a new job recently, but I have had time to play The Wolfe Among Us episodes 1 through 5, and it's been great.
I think that's the thing about prolificy. You don't need to do it lately. Like,
that's true.
Shakespeare's prolific. He hasn't been active in like 500 years.
Yeah, when was the last time he did anything?
Yeah. Yeah, you just need to burn out once, and then you're probably prolific forever. So, Wolfe Among Us. Pretty alright game, right?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, you know.
So for context, I have never played any of the more narrative style Telltale games. I played all of the Sam and Max games.
Okay.
But I think that's it. And I didn't play the Walking Dead yet. So this was my first entry into the whole, narrative choice-based style of gameplay that they became known for. And I enjoyed it a lot.
How much did you know about it before we started? Like, have you seen it be played by other people?
I've seen a little bit of... I watched someone play a little bit of, one of the Batman games. So,
okay.
I kind of knew the general, occasionally there's QuickTime events, but mostly it's just, dialogue and choices and walking around and looking at type stuff. So I had, a vague idea of what it would be like.
Yeah, that's about us, except Dustin, who really likes the Walking Dead series before we started covering it for the show.
It's funny, that's really the only one of these narrative-based Telltale, the choice-based Telltale games I've played before this show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we had wanted to cover the show mostly based on our fond memories of pre-Walking Dead Telltale. We were coming from Tales of Monkey Island and the Sam and Max trilogy, and I guess really just those two for the most part. But for me, I was coming from Strong Bad as well, and this extra bit of Telltale, this more narrative-driven adventure game, I didn't think we'd gravitate toward it as hard as we have. But I think we've really come to enjoy it quite a bit after The Walking Dead and this. Although this does strike me as a very different... immediately, this already feels very different from The Walking Dead felt to me.
Yeah, I'm glad it feels so different, considering it plays pretty much exactly the same. But, given the world and the story, it still makes it feel very unique.
Yeah, before we started... sorry, we didn't do that yet. Let me put it in the future tense. Before we start, we should talk about how you, Courtney, have come into episode 5. What are your past decisions leading up to this moment? Especially if you can remember all the significant ones that differ from what Dustin and I did.
Sure.
I think our audience would love to know.
Okay, so I'm pretty much like Mitchell and Dustin in that I try to be, I try to make Bigby a good person. I try to do the right thing. That's just how I like to play games. I like to be a good person and do right by the characters. unless they're real scumbags, and I feel like they don't really deserve my best. But there are a few key differences that. So I've been sort of posting and talking to the boys about my decisions and stuff, and there's some key differences along the way. In the order I did things mainly, which led to some very interesting different results. But there were occasionally times when I made, I guess, a different decision, I guess just more in like I have like an impulse reaction to things where I was trying to do the right thing, but it still ended up being really different from what they did. A big one that I can remember right now is I interrupted the funeral, which they called me out for.
Yeah.
And I, so my view on it was that we had just found out that, Snow was being stalked by her boss, had, a creepy fetish obsession with her. And I figured that she should know as soon as possible, especially because he was getting away at that moment, and we should probably go, try to find him and track him down before it's too late. So I guess my read on it was kind of I thought she was gonna, go back and just finish her speech at the funeral. I was just I'm just gonna get her aside for a minute and just tell her about this, and then... But it turned into this whole big thing, and she never got to finish it, and then the game made me feel real bad about it, and then my friends made me feel real bad about it, and it's okay.
Yeah, on the one hand,
we're glad you did it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, thank you.
On the one hand, I kind of can't imagine doing that, but on the other, I could totally imagine the game saying, "Oh, you waited for her to finish? Okay, now she's gonna immediately grab a ladder on a helicopter and just be gone. And you can't possibly tell her because you waited." That kind of stuff feels realistic to the Telltale formula at this point. Sometimes you think, oh, well, she should still be around after she does the eulogy. And other times she just teleports out of there because you need to be punished for every decision you make.
Yeah, I mean,
I decided I have somewhere else to be.
I didn't think it would be that extreme, but I did think that maybe I would miss my chance or something, or, just who knows. We got news like that, you gotta tell it as soon as possible. That's how I thought.
So, this episode in general, how do we feel about it as a finale episode to this game?
I think it's fine. It didn't blow me away in the same way
blow
Walking
you
Dead
away
did.
Because
He's a big bad wolf.
What a wolf joke.
Yeah.
What a good wolf joke.
Thank you.
It's at least in the top 10.
Best ever wolf jokes. Yeah, no, I'm kind of on the same wavelength. There's some aspects of it, and we'll touch on those, that I really, really liked.
Mm-hmm.
But I think throughout the episode, there could have been some elements that were stronger. We'll get to it at the end, but the thing I've picked for my golden moment isn't even perfect, and I think could have been done better. It feels like there's a lot of stuff left on the table, which may be why people were so excited for so many years about The Wolf Among Us 2, but I also don't think it's going to be picked up. I think that's probably going to be generally about a different aspect of the universe.
It's hard to say, since I think one of the things they said about 2 was that when they originally were making 2 at the original Telltale, it was going to be disconnected and not follow up on anything from Season 1. But since then, the new Wolf Among Us 2 is not using anything of that. So, and I don't know if they've said anything on whether or not they're going to pick up from Season 1, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's still between Season 1 and the beginning of the comics, so it's not like you can destroy the city and kill Bigby and do all these lasting permanent things. The comic still needs to exist. Although, that said, we have both refused to learn anything about what happens in the comic. That's our cool sort of ignorance ploy.
I did learn one thing about the comic looking at a wiki entry.
Oh, what'd you learn?
Do you want me to spoil it? It's kind of... I don't know if it's a big spoiler or not, but...
To what?
Mr. Toad dies at some point.
What?
But
Dang.
the thing is, it's not. I don't think it's ever played off like he's a major character in the comics. He's just.
Wait, he dies in the comic or before the comic?
I forget exactly what it's. I think it said he like died in a war or something. I don't remember. This was like a week ago, but it seemed like he is very much not a big character in the comic.
Well, yeah, he gets ousted to the farm.
Yeah, see ya.
Yeah, well, that's sort of spoilers for if you're trying to if you're somehow trying to play through the episode while listening to the episode of this podcast. I guess that was a spoiler for the end.
They're like, shit.
Yeah, because that's impossible to do. I won't be upset that I spoiled that because that who in the world? who
if
could
you're
possibly
listening
do
to the episode on the last episode of The Wolf Among Us before playing it, that's your fault. In all honesty.
Yeah, or if you've decided to never play it, that's probably fine too. But that should be what it is. Don't listen to it and then be upset that we... Yeah. Okay, so this episode started with, for me, a conversation between Bigby and the Crooked Man. But at the end of the previous episode, you could have chosen to make a scene instead of talk.
Ooh.
So did any of us do that?
I sure didn't.
Yeah, I think we all chose the conversation.
Yeah, I want to talk to
we
this
discussed
guy.
it. We discussed it last time. You want to get more out of these characters. You don't just want to jump right into the action, or at least I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially with the Crooked Man, because I had been playing the whole game. I half jokingly, half very seriously, made a lot of predictions on this show that Flycatcher was the Crooked Man. And whether or not Flycatcher was the Crooked Man was like my actual for real prediction. I definitely did think the Crooked Man was an alias. I definitely thought that was someone in Glamour or the name for someone else's that we already knew their side hustle was going by the Crooked Man and doing this black market stuff. So the idea that this is just a different guy we've never seen before was very surprising to me. And I expected, even after the reveal, that was last episode, even after that reveal, in this episode, I still assumed, okay, yeah, but someone's going to be connected further.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of double cross here to make this more interesting.
I had like a wild theory enter my brain, like during, I can't remember this episode or the last one, because they kind of ran together. I think it was the last one.
Hit me with the wild theories.
Well, so I always thought your Flycatcher thing was a little out there, but...
Okay. That's fine. I'll bury myself in the sand.
No, because I thought... At the last episode, I think it was, episode 4, is when you're talking to Narissa in the office, and she says something like, I don't have any friends. What about your friends? Are you looking after your friends? And I thought that she was really heavily implying that, like, one of our friends was going to betray us or something. And
yeah, absolutely. That's what that was. That's totally what that felt like.
I thought it was Buffkin. Because...
Okay.
Buffkin did kind of have some vibes from time to time, like when he was putting the mirror back together.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, let me handle this. It's gonna take a while. Let me have that shard, please. I thought he was just gonna, run off with the shard or something.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh, there's something wrong with this shard. Oh, it's just not going in or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was like,
what are you
Sus.
What are you hiding, monkey man? I'm glad he isn't, because I love Buffkin.
Yeah. I was pretty relieved that he wasn't evil, but I was ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seemed unlike any Telltale mystery that we've seen before, where the logical thing for it to be was, oh, some guy. It's just, some guy did it, huh? Cool.
Yeah, the thing is, it makes
sense.
perfect sense to just be some guy and not have any, like, big betrayals or anything. But in terms of a story, it's what you expect, but I guess realistically, it is just some guy who's in control of it.
Yeah, it's like that oft-repeated but actually incorrect thing that people say about murders. How they say, like, 90% of murders are committed by someone the victim knew, which is from nowhere and also, like, the opposite of the truth. Most murders are completely random and no one knows anyone. So, like, the idea that in every mystery story, it is the satisfying and cool answer, doesn't really make sense. So for this to just be like, oh no, it was some guy. It was, it was a guy you don't know. So, I mean, that makes sense, right? And it does, but it definitely felt, I just hadn't seen a Telltale game do that yet.
Yeah.
So.
And I guess it works because, like, it's still... He still has this connection to these people of Fabletown.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's just some random guy they threw in to be like, yep, I did it. I had no motivation, and see you later. They still make it work with him, even if there's no, like, big twist with him.
Yeah, I think during the first episode of the game, you can either talk to Snow or Crane. I don't remember which one it is. But they ask you who you think did it, and you have like a lot more options than you would normally have. You have options that you might not have, or even definitely didn't yet talk to or see in the game yet. Like Bluebeard, I don't think you saw at that point, and that was an option you could click. Donkey Skin's boyfriend was an option. The prince. Like, all kinds of weird options. And I don't think the Crooked Man was one of them. I don't think that was on the list. So it really is supposed to just be like, oh, yeah, I don't know this guy. Okay, yeah. that makes sense. And I don't know how to feel about that. Because on the one hand, doing the other thing, the expected thing of like, oh, it was this person you didn't but really did suspect the whole time, is often very cheap, but this is I don't know. It's I don't know how I feel about it.
It feels more realistic, but it just doesn't really have that same emotional impact it would have otherwise.
Yeah.
Cuz like even if you see it coming, you still kind of get a shock of like, whoa, it was this person. How could they do this? How could they be in cahoots with this crooked man? But here it's like, nope, it's just him.
Yeah,
but I guess
like,
part of it. I guess part of it
is always. It's like the eye candy of books. It's like the eye candy of narrative mysteries, and to just not have that makes so much more sense. But it's not very sugary. You don't get a lot of a lot of that Kino.
I guess the twist is more like just how many people are like part of his entourage, I guess, because like there's so many people in this room. Like it's not like a secret any of these people were working for him, so it's not a big twist, but it is kind of, I don't want to say surprising, but it is a little impactful just seeing so many people here.
So you talk to the Crooked Man, and you're being Big B, and you're like, I want answers. Give me the answers. And Crooked Man's like, no. And then Big B's like, but do it. And then the Crooked Man says, fine. And he tells you the truth, which is that, like, Georgie did it.
Yeah. I love just how matter of fact it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Which is, like, again, the crooked guy is just some guy, and then, like, all of the possible bad guys are all bad guys, and it's just sort of one of them. Courtney, how'd you feel about that?
I mean, I believed it, because, like, I mean, it was clear that, you know, the Crooked Man had given the orders, and Georgie had carried it out, which makes sense because he was, you know, he's like the pimp of the prostitutes, so he'd be the one to do it. But, I mean, it was set up from pretty early on. The conflict was going to be about, like, how do you, as the sheriff, react to, you know, the person who actually pulled the trigger, essentially, versus, like, the person who gave the orders, and sort of, like, the morality around that. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the conflict it created instantly within this, like, rogues gallery of villains with Georgie getting so pissed off.
I really like that it just just everyone is yelling and arguing with each other, and Bigby's just there like, Yeah,
like, they were just talking over each other. I thought it was done really well. Like, it just was super naturalistic, because, like, Georgie is just, like, he's just so mad. He was just like, fuck all of you, and they're
Yeah,
just like,
rightfully
what?
And Tweedledum is
problem.
telling Georgie, like, dude, just go with it.
Yeah.
You're gonna get us all in trouble. Just go with it.
Just go with it,
Yeah,
man.
come on,
Don't
man.
turn down this opportunity.
So after you find out that Georgie Porgy was the one who actually did it, but according to Georgie Porgy, he was being ordered with a pretty fierce order that he could not back down from by the Crooked Man. And you as the player are left to sort of grapple with how you feel about who's actually in the wrong in a hitman situation like that. Mm-hmm. Except, I mean, like, are you? Because it's definitely the Crooked Man is the worst guy. Clearly, Georgie Porgy's not, like, the main bad guy from that situation.
Yeah, but they're also both bad guys who are responsible for this.
Sure. Yeah. Like, Georgie Porgy's lack of moral compass in this kind of thing is a big part of why it is gross. But also, he didn't make it happen. And he was put in a position where he had to. And I think most players playing through the game would see that and think like, okay, well, the worst guy that I actually want to put for this murder is the Crooked Man.
Yeah.
Unless Courtney didn't.
No, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine someone playing and just being like, "Oh, the Crooked Man's right. He didn't."
Georgie was behind.
He didn't do it.
He just said words. He didn't actually,
Words don't mean anything.
Right. Sticks
He
and
said,
stones
"Take care of
can-
it." That could have meant anything.
Yeah.
Just been sending them off on a long vacation.
Yeah, he could have given them some money and said, "Here you go."
Yeah.
So long.
So they all escape through like a magic stained glass mirror that they break.
But not before Georgie gets stabbed in his body.
Georgie gets stabbed by one of the Tweedles who was aiming for Big B, but Big B like ducked out of the way and
what a shit
Georgie
show.
in the way. Yeah, they were really unorganized in that moment, and that was their downfall.
This could have gone so smoothly, but instead it was a comedy of errors.
All the while, I'm glad you stopped me from moving on, because I did want to point out that this whole time, they're really boosting this idea of the main Fabletown government can but does not help these fables, while the Crooked Man is like doing things that are against the law and in ways that are kind of gross, but is trying to help fables in a sort of like social good kind of way that I mean personally I don't buy at all, but I guess that's what they're presenting here as the main moral dilemma of the whole season, really. And how do you feel about that, Courtney? Because I think Dustin and I have spoken on this before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it gets, I don't know, I imagine that at the very end, like, the dialogue can differ substantially depending on what you choose, but, you know, at the end of the game, the characters definitely get into that, and how, you know, the idea that turns people against the Crooked Man is that he doesn't actually care about helping them. That's just sort of the persona he puts on, because he really just cares about trapping them in his system so he can continue to exploit them and get their money and everything. So
basically keeping them indebted to him.
Yeah, he's the drug dealer archetype, right? Like,
so while the government definitely could stand to improve and probably sucks in a lot of ways, like the Crooked Man is, you know, intentionally like trapping people. Like, the government just could do a better job at helping people for sure, but they're not like essentially enslaving people at the threat of their lives if they don't pay their debts, etc.
I'm still really baffled about that in the last episode. Like, in that back room, having them chained up for making like the magic and stuff in back. What was the benefit? I know we already talked about this, so I don't want to get too into it. But
wait,
boy, it's
what
still...
do you mean? What was the benefit of the chains?
Yeah, of keeping them chained up in that back room. If you're already... I just didn't see why he had to. We talked about it in the episode.
Well, I guess Narissa
There we go.
I guess Narissa is kind of proof that it's not a perfect curse. Like, she can go and talk to Bigby in ways that are probably gonna piss off the Crooked Man. So chains will... If she was chained up, she wouldn't have done that, I imagine.
Yeah, but it looked like they're let go afterwards. It doesn't look like they're, like, forever enslaved.
Well, I think they... Well, the reason they weren't there anymore is because the Butcher turned that light on that warned them to leave, so they needed to get everyone out.
Yeah, I think they're... So, actually, I went to the pawn shop first last episode, so I did not get to see the people working in the back room. They're already gone by the time I got there.
No, we did... They weren't there for us either.
But I didn't think I found out that it was, like, the prostitutes at all, for whatever reason. Maybe I just didn't get the same dialogue or something, but we saw the chains, and Bigby was like, they are keeping people trapped here, but I don't think it ever said, like, who it was. But, yeah, I guess they're kind of just forced to work in the strip club at night and the magic mines during the day, or whatever.
Yeah, the magic mines in the butcher shop. I guess that's what that is. Like a magic mind of some sort.
Going to the pawn shop first, I just want to say, seems like the absolute better option, because I got so much more stuff, and Adam did too. And it seems like if you go to the butcher shop second, you get pretty much all the same stuff that you got from going there first.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it seems that way, that there's a lot of choices in this game that are not equal. Probably for good reason. Like, some choices are... You're not cool if you make those choices.
But, like,
so...
unlike the choice where, it's like, yeah, we probably should have checked on Lawrence first, but we didn't. But I don't feel like there was anything super strongly pointing you towards going to the pawn shop first here. It wasn't like, yeah, when I think about it, I really should have done that. Like, I just chose that. I don't even really remember what my mental... Oh, it was because, like, they talked about Bloody Mary being at the butcher shop a lot, and they talked about the Jersey Devil being at the pawn shop, and I was like, I just want to meet a new character. So that's why I went there. So
I think Dustin and I both did the butcher shop, but we both kind of didn't want to. Dustin is on record as saying that he did it because he thought I wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, I guess we saw how that played out.
And I did it and immediately regretted it, because really, like what they were saying before, it would make a lot of sense if Crane went to the pawn shop, which would be a quicker, like, shortcut to the end of where we were going.
Yeah.
So, like, from an investigative detective kind of perspective, the pawn shop is the better option in general. So it makes sense that you're rewarded in a small way for going there first. Okay, so you go through the stained glass window. The Crooked Man, with the help of Bloody Mary, has gotten a good amount of distance on you, and now you're chasing cars. It's a car chase. And you're jumping off car roofs, and...
This car chase is crazy.
It is crazy. It's very quick time event heavy. There's one interesting choice in the middle of the car chase, which is, are you going to jump on the car that has Georgie Porgy and the prostitute whose name you don't know yet, or are you going to get in the limousine which has Bloody Mary and the Crooked Man in it? Except I didn't realize what that choice was, because
Me too, exactly the same.
Yeah, I didn't remember that they had shown us that limousine before, so I just thought, oh, the one on the left, that's the car with Georgie Porgy in it. That's the one I'm supposed to be following, so I didn't really treat it like a choice, and I would have done the other one if I realized.
Yeah, I wish you did, because I also did Georgie.
Yeah, same thing here. I thought it was just kind of supposed to be like a test, like, were you paying attention to which car Georgie was in? And I'm like, yeah, I was, and then later I was like, wait a second, that limo was also important.
You know what? That's not on us. That's not on us. That's the game's fault.
I really wonder if there is a big difference. Like, there has to be, right? I don't want to make assumptions, but that seems like a big choice that could really change how the episode goes if you go with one car or the other. Yeah,
because what we see if you follow Georgie Porgy is huge. That's a huge change. Two characters die, and you learn basically the whole deal. And if you just don't do that, that'd be hugely different. Yeah, I wonder. We'll need to do another version of this episode with 5 people on it, and then one of them might have picked the limo.
One of us has to have picked the limo.
So, Dustin, you want to kick off the what happens at the Puddin' and Pie when you catch up with Georgie Porgy?
Boy, I would love to. So you get to the Puddin' and Pie, and you see, her name's Vivian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The girl with the ribbon.
Yeah, so it turns out you were just 100% right. I mean, we basically got that to begin with, but here it's really laid out for you.
Mm-hmm.
She is the girl in the story with the ribbon. She just is the one.
Yeah, but of all the girls with the ribbon, it was the blonde one who you never hear talk and only see in the background and is not important.
Yeah,
that one is the girl with the ribbon.
I don't like that she's so, like, on Georgie's side. I guess it makes sense. It shows her and Georgie have more of a connection than he does with the other girls.
Yeah.
But, like, he did kill them. Why are you... Like, even if it was the Crooked Man's order, he's the one who made your friends' heads go off of their bodies.
If you read the, like, backstory entries, it essentially says that, like... They sort of became friends as they were fleeing from the homelands, and then they formed the club together. So they've known each other for longer than she's known any of the other girls. Now, I'm not saying that she should still be so cool with what he's done, but, like, I guess it makes a little more sense framed that way, because they go way back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get that. I totally get that. But it's also, like, this is not a guy who's... You're really going all in on this guy.
Well, so what I got out of that was that Faith and Lily and Nerissa, I guess, but maybe not Nerissa, that's for a later conversation, had to die per the Crooked Man's request because they had a plan to overthrow the Crooked Man or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it was either Vivian dies, which would kill all of them and sort of solve the problem, or just those girls die. So, like, Georgie Porgy killing the other girls, and in order to keep Vivian alive, endeared him to Vivian because Vivian knew how hard of a choice that was.
Yeah.
And it was for her. So she liked that in a way. So I could see her being on his side. But also, she is really defensive of, like, the whole thing, when all she had to say was, look, the Crooked Man had us basically at gunpoint, and if we didn't do what he said, we would die. So that's...
Exactly.
We should not be blamed for that. That's not my... I don't care to take responsibility for that.
Yeah, I feel like there could have been a little better way to write her in this scene, but, you know, it gets the point across. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
How you say fine.
It's just... It's fine.
Can I rewind just a second? One thing I wanted to mention. I kind of feel like during the big car chase part, it made me realize I prefer how this game handles QuickTime events over Walking Dead Season 1. Or, I guess not so much the QuickTime events, because they're basically more or less the same. But
yeah, I was going to say, they don't feel different to me.
There's some specific parts that I just feel like Walking Dead could have just done it like this. And I guess they're not even really QuickTime events, but it's parts in Season 1 of Walking Dead where it's like, Lee is going to run off of this roof building, and you need to know exactly the right spot to click on this, on this edge of this, on this ledge of this building, or you will fall down and die multiple times because you just can't get the right spot. Yeah. That happened to me and my...
Is it possible I feel like to die from a QuickTime event missing in this game? Because I felt like they were extremely lenient.
There are a couple times, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's possible.
There's a couple... I think one is, like, when you're fighting the Jersey Devil in the last episode, he can, like, stab you in in your body and you will die.
Yeah, there were a few times where I like missed one during a big fight, but it didn't matter because there were like so many quick time events that he like Bigby seemed to recover from it. But then there were other times where like a lot of them are like left trigger or right trigger, and I just like always hit the right trigger and it seems to work no matter what it says. And also like sometimes I'm like outside of the circle and it's still like Bigby is being a badass, so it's like
yeah,
they just
they're
seem
super
really
lenient.
lenient.
Yeah.
They don't care to penalize the player for any reason in this game. I think there's a weird antagonism that I've brought up as early as The Walking Dead about the fact that they still have to make games. Like underneath all of this, it just seems like you want to do the narrative, like choose your own adventure thing, and that's it. And that's fine.
Yeah.
That is clearly the best part of these games. So it makes sense that you would want to do those. And then you like, it almost feels like they feel bad that they need to do these quick times or mini games or other things like that when they want to get to the main thing.
I'll say this. I think it would be worse if they didn't have the quick time event like action scenes.
Okay.
I feel like they are a good way to kind of help break... Like, they're not the most engaging gameplay in the game, but they do help break up the other stuff. It is a nice change of pace when it happens, and I feel like it could get a little stale if you were just doing, like, dialogue options and choices.
Plus, I think it's cool. I think I remember you talking about something like this in The Walking Dead. I can't remember, but there's also another instance in this episode later on where like there is a quick time event trigger and it becomes like your choice whether to actually do it or not. Whereas normally you're like, oh, I gotta defend myself, I gotta press this button right now, but like they can switch it up on you and like subvert it to be like, wait a second, I don't have to use violence here and I can just wait this out.
Yeah Station wagon guy, I think, is the specific reference in Walking Dead, where like the UI for come on, keep clicking this guy to choke him to death shows up, and you can just not click, and then that is also its own choice.
And I think that's the better way to do it. I think it's a more satisfying outcome if you don't do it, but I also think it's kind of, I guess maybe not really that obvious that you could even do that, because you're so accustomed to, if you get like mash A, you're like, okay, well, I gotta mash A. You don't really think about having that option because, like, well, I'll die if I don't.
You have to really want to not do it in order to not do it. It needs to be a very strong emotion. And in that way, I think that they've successfully brought QuickTime events into the main thematic purposes of the game. That said, they do that like twice in the whole season.
Yeah.
So, like, all of the other QuickTime events are not interesting in that way.
I just think it was funny that there was this huge wolf man running around New York. Like, they weren't so far.
Yeah.
They weren't just in Fabletown the whole time. Come on. Like, people had to have seen that.
Yeah, they had to zap a lot of police people in order to erase that one. A lot of people remembered it, I imagine.
There should have been like a pop-up that was just like, half of New York will remember that.
Half of New York will remember this. Yeah, totally. Because then he shows up at the Puddin' and Pie after the car chase to talk with Georgie Porgy and Vivian. And they just sort of... I thought for sure we were going to be talked to by Snow, like, hey, did you just fuck up hardcore?
Did you just turn into a big scary wolf?
Did you just doom our entire society real quick? I thought we would for sure get some sort of dialogue about that. Never happens.
Some sort of slap on the wrist.
Yeah, some sort of demerit at least.
It never really comes up.
Maybe that's what Season 2 is about.
Season 2 is all about that.
Yeah, just that one mistakes. Car chase where you messed up.
It's all about Big
That
E
took
going
like
around.
2 minutes.
He's going around New York and he has to like wipe everyone's memory. That's what the whole game is.
Yeah.
Or apologize for it. He's like, sorry. I didn't mean to.
Sorry I broke your balcony. I was being all wolf dumb. So,
Oh yeah, and then he finds new clothes on their clothesline. How lucky is that?
Yeah, new
that
clothes
he finds
that are
perfectly his
the
clothes.
exact
are
same clothes
basically
he had
his
before.
yeah, same size, same style. Right there. Includes shoes.
Yeah.
And like a tie?
That's such a bizarre choice. They could have just had him like shirtless for the rest of the episode, and it would have been like, okay, I get it, you burst out of his clothes, but no, they're like, we have to make sure he has the exact outfit he had before.
Do people normally put their ties like out on a clothesline?
No,
because he
don't wash a tie.
I didn't think so.
Yeah,
because he got a tie.
You just wish it clean, and it's as clean as it needs to be. It's like a belt. You don't put a belt in the dishwasher or laundry
I
room.
hope not.
I mean, that might be the only way to actually clean a belt, but you just don't. You wouldn't do it. You just wouldn't do it.
That's just not a done thing.
So, Georgie Porge is bleeding out. He's probably gonna die. And then Vivian feels bad for everyone who's still ribboned up, because Faith and Lily were not the only ribboned up people. We've got Narissa. We've got the male stripper they had, whose name I don't remember.
Was it Hans?
Yeah.
Was it Hansel from Hansel and Gretel?
No, it's Clever Hans, just like the horse that can count.
The horse that can but cannot actually count. Yeah, so he's glamored up to look like a dude and not.
But
a
he's
horse.
normally a horse.
No, he's not. He's not a
just been
horse. I think the horse thing was named after this fairy tale of Clever Hans. Which I don't know this fairy tale, but I don't think
Okay.
it's
I don't
the
either.
horse.
I did think it was Hansel
Thank
and
you for
Gretel.
introducing the fan favorite Googling section of the show.
Because his Fable entry said something about him throwing sheep's eyes at his wife, and I was like, oh, what?
When did that happen in Hansel and Gretel?
Okay, so I'm on the Wikipedia page for Clever Hans, and it does say there is a fairy tale. It's a boy who ruins his engagement with a girl through a variety of comedic events.
The feel-good comedy of the summer.
The title, Clever Hans, is claimed by most people to be ironic.
Yeah, I'd say so. Probably.
Yeah, it's a Brothers Grimm one. Every morning when Hans meets Gretel, he asks her for a gift. In order, she gives him a needle, a knife, a young goat, a ham, a calf, and herself. And in each instance, Hans mishandles the gift. He sticks the needle in some hay, but then his mom tells him that he should have stuck it in his sleeve. So he puts the knife in his sleeve, but he's told that he should put it in his pocket. So he puts the goat in his pocket, and then that smothers the goat. And then he's told he should have led it by a rope. So he ties the ham to a rope, but a dog steals it. So his mom tells him he should put the ham on his head. So he carries the calf on his head, but it kicks him in the face, and so it runs away. And he's told that he should have tied it to the stable. And then, so when Gretel gives him herself, he ties her to a stable. And his mom's advice is, you should have cast your adoring eyes at her. So he gouges out the eyes of the livestock he owns to throw at Gretel. And the result is a disengagement.
Yeah.
Portrayed by the final sentence, and that's how Hans lost his bride.
He's kind of like
He threw
Amelia
a bunch
Bedelia.
of goat's eyes at her. Yeah. No, like, so much worse than Amelia Bedelia, though.
You know what? I'm just going to say I don't think any of that comes across in the game.
No, I would say that he's painted as a himbo type, maybe.
Yeah.
But not this much. Not that much. Also, it's two things that are Hans and Gretel.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Hansel and Gretel is the witch that eats them, and then also it's this other thing. In that one, they're siblings. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, Grimm. I guess you didn't learn very many names growing up in the German backwoods.
Better luck next time.
So Vivian here.
Yeah.
This is I think a show stealing moment. She feels bad about all the people that are still ribboned up, and she realizes that if she just lets herself die, she sort of takes it for the team, all those people's curses can be broken, but she will die as well. And she chooses to kill herself by untying the ribbon. And I don't know if this happens every time, but that's definitely what I got.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Is it not? I assume that you, by your affirming mm-hms, also got that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yup.
That probably happens every time.
That makes sense.
I can't imagine getting out of that one.
Yeah, like, even if you chase the crooked man in his car, this just seems like too big a plot point to just do differently, to not get.
Yeah. This is way too big. It's a good character moment for Vivian because it's her only character moment. She's not treated like a character outside of this moment.
That was her one time.
So Georgie's very upset about this, and then Georgie asks Bigby to kill him, to like put him out of his misery. He's trying to like egg him on so that Bigby does it. And you have the option to put him out of his misery or let him bleed out. And this is one of those that made me frustrated at the game because like even if I know he's going to bleed out, give me an option to try bringing him to a hospital. Like don't make me do this. Why would you? It just seemed unfair. Just felt bad to me. I didn't like that.
Yeah, I guess the point is, look, he ain't gonna, there's nothing you can do here, so just end it or don't.
Did you kill him or let him bleed out?
I killed him.
I killed him.
Wow, I let him bleed out.
He was like
You said, "Fuck
clearly
you."
suffering a lot, so I just wanted to put him out of his misery.
Yeah, I liked that he was suffering.
Yeah, that's fair.
One thing that I didn't like about this, though, is later on when it comes up in conversation, when you're talking at Crooked Man's trial, Bigby just says, I killed him.
Yeah.
Without any other context.
Yeah.
And it's like, you want to explain this? You want to maybe
so
say why
frustrating.
you killed him?
That's so frustrating because you want to be like, well, yeah, Tweedledum tried to stab me. He missed and hit Georgie Porgy, and then he bled out. That's what you want to say, whether or not you did the final blow or not. Because it's kind of an analogous situation to what the Crooked Man did with Faith and Lily, where he, like, Tweedledum is the Crooked Man here. He causes the death, but you being the instrument, or Georgie Porgy being the instrument to actually fulfill that death, it should be given the option to like let that thematically rhyme.
Yeah.
But if you can't explain that Tweedledum did it, then it's just like I think it's good in one case and bad in the other, and then it doesn't make sense. And I do feel like I liked this story a lot. I don't want to only complain about it, but there's a lot of things in this ending episode that feel like they got confused on the way out the door. Especially from like a thematic narrative perspective.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't be like that upset about it if it weren't for the fact that Walking Dead felt so like perfectly finalized, I guess. Like so satisfying in what it does.
Yeah, The Walking Dead Season 1 is this idea of, like, is this gameplay idea at its purest, most natural form. I never felt like I was clicking an option that said, disagree with the guy, and then I slapped the guy. You know, like, it adds so much to what I didn't choose, and then I get blamed for slapping the guy. And that kind of thing happens in The Wolf Among Us kind of often, and that breaks the idea of trying to hold the player accountable for choices. Because if it is going to do stuff after the thing I actually tell it to do, and then include that as part of my choice, I don't actually feel like it got me. I just feel like, well, you're making fun of Bigby right now, but that's something Bigby did that I didn't. And that just doesn't... It just doesn't jam. Just doesn't jam with me. Versus, like, everything that Walking Dead did.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it doesn't ruin the story for me, but it is frustrating because I do like the story, and don't want it to have any flaws. I just want it to be
Yeah, I would
good.
like it to have no flaws. They should do the next game that way.
Yeah, they should really have that in their notes, probably.
No flaws.
Last time we decided to put flaws in, and it didn't quite work out.
Yeah.
Telltale went under.
We meant to do paws, like wolf paws, but we put flaws in it instead. So, yeah, by the way, when you say don't kill Bigby, like the option is don't kill Bigby, the thing that it says in the upper left-hand corner once you pick it is you chose to let Georgie suffer.
Oh yeah, I got you
Just
chose
really-
to end Georgie's suffering, so...
Yeah.
Really rubbing salt in the wound.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the choice you make, you gotta be like, ooh, good job, you dick.
I think I picked that mostly because I was just tired of the townspeople yelling at Bigby for things that didn't make sense. And I was positive that someone was going to yell at Bigby like, you killed him? Just straight up? And then Bigby wasn't going to have an answer. Did that basically happen for you?
Well, it's so weird, because, at least for me, that basically what I said is exactly what happened. Like, Bigby, he's like asked about Georgie, and Bigby just says, I killed him, and doesn't
Yeah.
follow up why, or, like, anything. Like, no defense, everyone's just like, okay.
Yeah, that was kind of an unforced
That's
error.
such a
Like, you
weird
could have just
thing
said,
to
he's
let him
dead,
get away with.
you know? But he's just like, he's dead, I killed him, and then everyone's like, alright.
Of all the things they get mad at Bigby for, it's so wild that they let him get away with it.
Everybody hated that guy, I guess.
Yeah, he did
Yeah,
suck.
Yeah, and like killing him, I think, is the right thing to do if he's suffering and gonna die anyway. But it doesn't really make sense for them to just for him to not follow up on why he did it, and then for all of them to just accept it.
Well, it makes sense.
I
If you
killed
think
him,
about it.
and then that could mean anything. That could mean I ripped his head off for fun.
Yeah. I killed him yesterday, before I even knew.
Unrelated to any of this.
So that's that scene. It's very poignant. I like it. It's good.
Yeah.
I liked that when I had been there before, I smashed the neon sign, and it was still smashed. I mean, makes
Nice.
sense.
I love that.
But I liked seeing that in the
Attention to
background.
detail.
That's probably a huge amount of attention to detail, because there were so many different kinds of things that could have been smashed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was back in episode 2. That was so long ago. It could have been so easy for them to just forget.
Yeah, and you could say,
You
like,
know
they had a
what?
replacement sign in the back that they just brought out.
Exactly.
I'm wondering if Wolf Among Us 2 will have choices from Wolf Among Us 1 carryover. It's so old. The code's gotta be...
Yeah.
Maybe it's... I have no idea how, like, save data exchange for different games works.
That's a good question, since Walking Dead does carry, like, all the way from season 1, all the way, like, through every season. It saves your choices.
Yeah, but Walking Dead was always, like, active.
Yeah, it's just interesting that those carry over for so long, but something like this, who knows, especially when being done by technically a different company.
Yeah. So after this, or maybe before this, if you picked the limo, you go to some warehouse that you're pretty sure the Crooked Man's going to be at.
Mm-hmm.
And in this warehouse, you find Bloody Mary, and she is at her A-game, high-tier Bloody Mary. She drops the glamour, and she looks all gross and demony, like the demon Bloody Mary.
What a
And-
cool design with, like, all the glass mirror shards
Yeah, I loved
sticking
it.
out of
She's
her.
like super
Yeah.
creepypasta with the blood running
Yeah.
down from her eyes.
It's perfect.
Yeah, she breaks like a mirror, and then every section of that mirror splits off. And each one of those sections becomes its own Bloody Mary. And
Yeah.
then you're just dealing with a clone, a giant horde of Bloody Marys. And in response to this, they beat up Bigby pretty bad. But then he goes into wolf mode. And then they beat him up more. And then he goes into real deal wolf mode. Which probably
this
has
is
a
the-
name. in the comics. They probably have like this is Super Saiyan 4 or something. There's like a name for when he goes big honkin' wolf mode.
Big Wolf, they call it.
Yeah. I mean...
Large boy.
Based on the Fable book, it just said that was his true form. And, so that's the real big bad wolf.
Yeah.
He could blow a house down. I believe it now.
I was glad...
When I see a wolf this big?
Yeah, I was glad that he did have, like, a true wolf form, because I didn't know if in the lore, like, the big bad wolf was just this, like, werewolf-looking dude. Or if he was, like, ever actually a real, full, four-legged wolf. So I'm glad that he was, because it's cool.
Yeah, they reveal in the bio that you get for Bigby at the very, very end that when Snow found him, as all the Fables were sort of in the process of leaving to America, she stabbed him with a lycanthropy knife, which made him an actual werewolf. So sometimes he is a wolf and sometimes he is a human. I thought... This is the first time I realized he's not wearing glamour. Because I thought he was a wolf, and like the back and forth between human and wolf was just because of glamour. But no.
Same until they elaborate on it in his bio.
I bet that's like a page 1 comics knower thing, and we just didn't know it, and we said it wrong the whole time.
Yeah, all the comic fans listening were like, it's so obvious.
Yeah. It also doesn't give Bigby's apartment the excuse of him spending money on glamour. So, like, for real, why does his apartment suck? It doesn't have to.
Yeah, he chooses to just live in a shitty apartment with a pig.
Yeah, he has only beer in his fridge, and the game presents this
and
like...
cigarettes.
Well, I guess he's poor. It's like, no, you can buy other... beer costs money, too. You just made the wrong choice... Yeah, anyway.
Something I was just thinking about is the character of Bloody Mary.
Mm-hmm.
In this game, I think character-wise, she's pretty undeveloped. Like, she's just a crazy lady who will kill you.
Yeah.
That's it.
She's like
But
go on.
I think it makes up for it by just how cool she is. Like, the concept of Bloody Mary is done so well and so creatively in this game that that's all I really need from this. I don't need to know, like, her whole backstory and what she's all about, because she's just cool now.
Yeah.
She has this demon form.
Yeah, I agree. Like, she's not the most interesting, deep character, but she's fun. She's a fun villain. Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah,
exactly.
We were talking before about her facial animations.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good faces on Bloody Mary. She's just constantly extremely mad at everything, and that works out. That's a good character.
Eyes wide open, always showing her teeth.
She's always showing her teeth. And you do end up actually killing her in this fight. You chomp through enough ghost Bloody Marys. You find the real one. And you chomp through her like a mirror, and then when he's big bad wolf Bigby is bleeding from the mouth, and then he transforms into a human. He's still bleeding from his mouth from when he bit her apart. That's cool. That's a that's a very comic booky moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have to do that as hard as they did, and they did do it pretty good.
I wonder if she is really dead though.
I bet so.
I would believe it either way.
I would believe it because I doubt she's in the comic book, and they didn't make season 2 yet. So she wouldn't have any way of coming back.
When Bigby used his, like, blowing his huff and puff attack, I did find it, like, funny, and I couldn't really place why at first, but...
Yeah, well, it's because wolves don't do that.
Well, I mean, obviously, but he's the big bad wolf, so he does do that. But, like, then later I realized it's because it really reminded me of, like, a Pokemon attack. It reminded me of, like, in Pokemon Stadium using Blizzard or something. Like,
yeah, he used Hyper Beam.
Yeah, it had, like, the same, like, energy to it.
It should have had the announcer from Pokemon Stadium.
It really should have.
That'd be great. I wanna see that mod. Yeah, when I played through that section of the game, I was really glad that you were going to be on the show, Courtney, because I thought about that giant wolf, and I thought, oh, Courtney's going to love this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this was a good Courtney moment. Just a big old animal, just wrecking shop.
I mean,
I
spoiler
think about
alert
good
for
friends.
what my golden moment is, but you were very perceptive.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good scene, especially because I also was pretty disappointed with wolf form in quotes Bigby that we've seen so far. He just sort of looks like a Sasquatch or like a Wampa from Star Wars, like the one that tries to eat Luke Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back and like hangs him from the ice ceiling. He looks like that guy.
Yeah, he's not the most badass looking guy. He kind of looks like a Scooby-Doo monster.
He seems like a 1980s television monster of the week monster.
Yeah.
Like they have that much sort of makeup and that much money for fur, and that's what it has to be. Because that isn't what a wolf is. That's not what a wolf is.
Yeah, like, even in the face, he doesn't look like Wolfie at all.
Yeah. I guess the comics just got it wrong. And so the game had to do it that way. Because the comics didn't know what a wolf was, and then they had to learn.
Can't disappoint the fan.
Yeah, I bet he goes full wolf in like episode or issue 1 of the comic. And that, again, we refused to learn. We just didn't know. But I liked not knowing, because it was a genuine surprise when he went further and became a real wolf. Mm-hmm. And that was good stuff. So you find the Crooked Man in this warehouse after killing Bloody Mary, and you have a few options of how to deal with him right then and there. You can try to kill him, but you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised that it gave you, like, a lot of points in this episode are just like, you can just kill him. Just try to kill him here. Just do it.
Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But see, the thing is, like, in the choices list at the end, it says, like, you spared the Crooked Man, not like you tried to spare the Crooked Man or something. So, like, what if you can just kill him right there and you skip the whole trial scene?
I'm sure you... Oh,
well, I'm sure you can at the end, where you're, like, for real given that choice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so
I love the choice when we get to it.
Yeah, I do too. But at this warehouse, like, he has a gun pointed at you, and you have a QuickTime event option of like, oh, you can click the gun and try to like push it away. If you try that, and I did try that, he like the Crooked Man shoots at you, and then Bigby backs off.
Whoa.
Yeah, basically just making a whoa. Okay, I better hear this guy out. Better hear his whole monologue. Gotta.
That's ahoy.
You're warned that he has silver bullets, which is, of course, just like real bullets in terms of deadliness, which is high. So you gotta be afraid of that. This seems like another junction for how different this episode could go, but I imagine that all of us brought him in for the trial.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, like, that one I don't feel bad at all that we're all on the same page. That's what you're supposed to do. That feels like what you should do. Because they've been talking so much about, like, we have to do things in a way that is by the books. We gotta do it better. We have to be better. And then
by the books, Bigby.
It's such an obvious choice of, like, okay, this is a very clear moment. You can do this by the books and, like, make people feel more comfortable in this town, or not. So you do it. You just do it every time.
Yeah, but now I'm wondering, like, if you, like, can you kill him there, and then, like, does it just skip that whole scene, or
just rolls credits? Just right there.
Maybe.
Yeah, that is something I'll say about this is, I mean, this is just me assuming, but it really feels like this is one area where it feels a little better than Walking Dead's finale, even though I prefer Walking Dead's finale. This episode at least feels like it can wildly diverge in more ways.
Yeah.
And that could be totally wrong. It's totally possible they just all end up in the same spot anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But it at least feels like this episode, I actually kind of want to replay and see, or at least like look up what could be different. Whereas with Walking Dead, I'm like, no, this is just the way I do it and the way it happens. And even if you make different choices, it all has to come together in the same way. Here, I'm very curious.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
So, you bring him back, or at least we did. And all of the gangs, the gang's all here. The entire town has congregated in City Hall for the first time, I imagine, ever. Because they knew it was the finale. And there was the staff party right after this, so they wanted to be in town.
I wish it was like every character in the game that was there, like Mr. Toad, TJ.
Well, it just reminds me of, like, there was a string of movies for like a long time where every movie ended with the entire cast is together having a party.
Yeah, there should have been like an epic dance party at the end.
yeah. This is the Shrek ending of Fables.
That would have been great.
I mean, that's Shrek.
Big B like
basically
dancing
is
up on the
Fables.
table.
Shrek is Fables before they go to America.
It's true. Maybe Shrek will be in the sequel.
I would love Shrek to be in the
that'd
sequel.
Be great.
Shrek was in that. Did you see that Mike Myers show?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Shrek's in that.
Yeah, Shrek is just there, and it's a guy in a Shrek costume. There's no.
It's not a guy. It's Mike Myers in a Shrek costume.
Yeah, but like they don't like try to make his mouth move or look natural.
No.
He just looks like him in a costume.
That show is the most bewildering, ass-happy show I've ever seen. Everyone go watch the Pentaveret. It's worth your time. I can't believe that exists. Anyway, the trial is... It feels like the cornerstone of the entire episode. This is where everything sort of comes together. This is the real finale. There's stuff after this that's sort of like a wrap-up, but this is the main... what it's all been going toward. Which is why it's weird. It feels weird that you could possibly kill him before that.
Yeah. So I could be wrong. Maybe this is another case where it's just like too big a story beat to skip. So maybe even if you try to kill him, you still end up here.
What I could maybe imagine is you blaming Georgie Porgy instead. But that doesn't sound right.
Georgie did it.
Well, yeah, like, if you believe the Crooked Man's excuse of, like, well, I didn't do it, Georgie did. Maybe you bring in Georgie Porgy
right.
and you have a trial on him.
Yeah, but he's dead.
Man, that feels like it would be even more anticlimactic.
Yeah.
It's just, It was just this guy, Georgie, who's just some guy who works at a strip club.
So the Crooked Man's whole deal, like this, and this is why he wanted a trial. He was so confident in his own ability to talk his way out of it. He was sure that if he was put in front of his peers, the whole town, he could convince them that technically there's no evidence linking him to the murders because Georgie Porgy's dead, so he can't speak on it. And technically, there's all these things that he does do that are beneficial to the community. And technically this, that, and the other, so he shouldn't be held accountable. And, like, it does start to work. And it shouldn't. By the way, I wrote down every charge that Snow charges him with. So, forced prostitution, pretty bad.
Yeah.
Attempted murder of Bigby. Fraud.
Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah, and I'm glad they included that, because I kind of thought they would, like, brush over the fact that even what he's just doing to Bigby is illegal. So, like, if nothing else was actually his fault, he did do this stuff. He did try to kill Bigby. Fraud, extortion, racketeering, murder of Faith and Lily on his call, which feels like it should have been higher up in her list, but it was like second to last.
She's going in
the
chronological
She got
order.
to it eventually.
Or something.
The
Actually,
last
she's
was,
not.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Illegal selling of magical artifacts, which I wish he didn't include, because as we've gone over before, not illegal, just frowned upon.
Yeah.
And the reason it's frowned upon is maybe a bad reason.
Yeah, Buffkin straight up says, not illegal.
Yeah, just Buffkin says things exactly like you just said that, Dustin.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I've been practicing.
practicing your Buffkin. I'm a Buffkin buff.
I have to come clean. I am playing Buffkin in Wolf Among Us too.
Dustin!
Yeah.
Clap, clap, clap. Clap, clap, clap.
Thanks. I wouldn't have believed it myself if I didn't just make it up.
I believe it because I
Thanks.
believe lies. So, what they try to do here with the Crooked Man feels very similar to Station Wagon Guy in Walking Dead Season 1, where everything that you've done along the way up to this point that could be turned against you is turned against you.
Boy, that sounds familiar.
So, what did you two get the Crooked Man like getting you with that you felt bad about later when he brought it up? Because for me, he says he once again brings up that I got rough with Woody when I was interrogating him, which was like the one thing I did, and it was the only thing he brought up.
Yeah, I got that too, but I got to be vindicated a little bit because, so I talked about this, just in our Discord, but earlier, like, I had been as nice as possible when I was interrogating Woody, so I came in and Bluebeard was, like, fucking him up a bit, and I was nice. I gave him his booze, I gave him his cigarette, and I, like, tried to just talk things through with him, and then when Snow showed up, proving that she was still alive, she just immediately got mad at us being mean to Woody, even though I hadn't done anything. But now, here in the trial, I finally got my chance to say, like, hey, I didn't do anything to him, that was Bluebeard. So, that felt nice, at least. But, yeah, he still called me out for it, but I got to say, like, no, that wasn't me.
That wasn't me, bro.
Dustin, is that how that went for you too?
Well, if you remember right, I did torture Tweedle, D.
That's a freebie. He sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah. Did the Crooked Man bring up anything else? Because I felt like if that's the worst thing he has on me, I did pretty good.
Yeah, I can't remember him really making me feel bad about anything else.
Yeah, I also don't remember because I played it a week.
Yeah, I guess, like, just in general, when he said things about, like, the government not looking out for the little people or whatever, but, like, that wasn't Big B's fault specifically, but
yeah,
it was like, I
did look out
can't
for the
deny
little people
that.
every time I tried.
I tried my best to help Mr. Toad.
Same,
Fucko.
it didn't work.
It in this moment it feels like a weaker execution than in The Walking Dead, where like that station wagon guy conversation really will go down as one of, I think, Telltale's best scenes.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly how I felt. The whole scene, I was like, all right, well, this just feels like something I've done before, but also not as good.
Yeah.
I didn't, like, hate it, but, it just felt weaker in comparison.
So the trial goes on, and it's actually looking like he's convincing enough people that maybe just because there's not enough proof and everything else, we should let it go. And some people in the audience, like, they're not so hot on it. They still seem frustrated that this is even happening. But they're kind of acting like, yeah, maybe if there's no proof and everyone else is dead, then we can't just prosecute a guy on nothing. But then the whole tone of the game turns around when Narissa shows up. You realize that she was the one person not involved to the cast party. So she shows up late. And she's saying, I was there when he said to do all the bad stuff. And I saw it. I'm the proof. Just say he's guilty. Just do it.
Yeah, because she's
and
not
that's enough.
cursed by the ribbon anymore because
she can talk.
Vivian's dead. so the curse isn't
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
She comes into the room like SpongeBob in the SpongeBob movies.
She does.
She says, "I got something to say about Mr. Krabs."
That's exactly that's exactly what happened. And because of her testimony, everyone pretty much unanimously votes to find the Crooked Man guilty. You did it. That's the Wolf Among Us.
The Crooked Man's like, "This is bullshit. This sucks."
There's a funny moment after this where they're like, okay, so who should decide his punishment? And you have the option to recommend democracy. Which I did. Did you take this?
I also said that, yes.
Yeah, I also did.
Of course. Okay.
Why did you even ask?
Yeah. You have the option to recommend democracy. Which feels like, why would you not do that? And then everyone says, that's stupid, you should just pick.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to vote. It's too hard.
I abstain.
It's so wild that, like, everyone seems to agree with that. No, we all like monarchies. I guess with them
It's
being
fine.
fables, they would like monarchies more than
Yeah,
the
like
average
half of them
bear.
are like
Makes sense.
princesses or something anyway, so.
Yeah, like most of them used to be monarchies, so. So they say, Mr. Wolfe, it's your call, and this whole game, I was never feeling any kind of way that Bigby Wolf and I share the same last name. Until this moment where they say, Mr. Wolfe, it's your call. That one was like a little too on the nose, and I did feel a kind of way about that.
Yeah, for me, they said Mr. Jackson. That's weird.
That's so weird. Wow.
They didn't say my
Crazy.
last name because no one can pronounce it right, so they just didn't even try.
They're like, whatever, you get it.
Yeah, you're like a big wolf. Yeah, I bet that's basically good enough. But them throwing the climax decision of the game, where I get to impact things the most so far, saying Mr. Wolfe, it's your call. That I'm not gonna lie, it caught me off guard in a chilling sort of way. First time in the game that connection has actually mattered.
Mitch, like, popping his collar. All right, guys, I got this.
My collar popped automatically without me having to pop it. Just like, ooh, okay, I'm awake. My collar is ready. So you have a few options. You can say let him go. No. You can say imprison him, basically forever, I guess, or throw him down the well, which is equivalent to killing him.
Well.
Don't forget one of the other options. Rip his head off.
Rip his head off. Yeah, that's one of them too. So there's 4 options.
I had to screenshot that.
Yeah, that's an amazing option. I was thinking about it, like, could we see that?
Yeah, like, there's no way I could do it, but I also wanted to see it happen.
Could we see the option? Maybe if you pick that, Bluebeard would be like, okay, we shouldn't have let you pick.
They just say,
Okay,
well,
no,
next
let's try
time.
democracy, actually.
Yeah, next time we'll do better.
What did you all pick?
Enslave.
Well,
I think
so
you mean imprison.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I also picked that. See, what I found interesting was like each of the options had like characters backing it up. It wasn't just Bigby making this decision all on his lonesome. Like, I think the people who wanted to kill him were like Grin and Holly, which is understandable because he killed Holly's sister, or had her killed.
Yeah.
And the person who was the strongest advocate for like sparing him and just imprisoning him was Auntie Greenleaf, because she said, I'm a witch, I know a way that we can like make sure he won't escape. So because I really like Auntie Greenleaf, so that really like kind of convinced me to go to her side, because I just like her as the character. But I mean, that's what I would have done anyway, probably. But I thought it was cool that like you could sort of be influenced by the characters that maybe you liked or related to in this story.
Yeah, totally agreed. I like that there's enough people in there in the room that could influence any of these decisions.
Yeah. I mean, not really ripping their head off, but
Well, that one's just you. That's just you really wanting to do it.
Yeah, that's like the back of Bigby's head. Like, I bet it comes off super easy. He's really skinny.
It would be so easy to kill
It
you.
would be. I wouldn't sweat at all. It would come off like a Pez dispenser.
You can see everyone's just watching Bigby think it over.
So something I really like here is that I clicked well. I clicked throw him down the well the first time.
Ooh.
But then upon doing that, they do this thing that they do a lot in The Walking Dead, and I really love it, where like you walk him toward the well, and then the crooked man like turns you around and kind of like wrestles control of the situation. And then he pushes you over the well, and then you're able to like topple over him again. And then you are holding him above the well, and then it asks you again the same choice as rip his head off, well, let him go, imprison. And like,
are you sure you don't want to rip his head off?
with him hovering over the well, the moral ambiguity of this decision is reduced, and you're given like a new way of thinking about what I actually want to do. And so I picked a different one the second time they asked me, because they made it more real. And that whenever they're able to do that, they basically prove the entire genre. They prove that it works, because they make this. Yeah. They make you make a decision, and then they put you in the position where they're about to do it, and then they give you a second chance. And sometimes you're not even able to use the second chance. They just make you think you can. In this case, you can. You actually can do whatever you choose the second time. But them proving like, hey, you made that call, and you immediately didn't like it. So isn't that interesting? And it is interesting. Good job, Telltale. You were interesting.
Thank you for being interesting.
Okay, so
did that same thing happen?
Yeah,
for
so
you?
but it was in like reverse, because I picked to imprison him from the very beginning, and I can't remember how it exactly shook out, but I know I ended up in that same position of like holding him over the well, and I think it's because he like startles you or grabs at you or something, and then there's like a tussle and you end up in the same. I don't remember. Do you remember, Dustin?
He tries to make a break for it.
Tries to kiss you. Yeah.
Yeah, he tries to shove his tongue in your face, and you're like,
awkward.
Yes, please.
That just happened.
What were you actually saying, Courtney?
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how it happens, but you do end up in the position of holding him over the well, and I felt like in that moment I was almost tempted to just like let him drop, because I don't remember how it shook out exactly, but like he had, like sort of tried to make a break for it, or maybe try to like push Bigby into the well instead or something, but I still, of course, chose to pull him back and not to drop him down the well. But for just like a moment in my head, I was like, whatever you did was just really low, so like, maybe you deserve just falling down there. But I was like, nah, I can't do it.
Yeah, I guess whatever you're thinking about doing, the fact that this happens kind of makes you want to do the opposite. Because, like for me, I was about to kill him, and then he proved... I guess it felt like he proved how much he didn't want to die. Which I should have...
It was relatable.
I should have felt that beforehand. I should have understood that.
Yeah, him wanting to do the trial was probably a good indication that he didn't want to die.
Yeah. Dustin, did that same deal happen with you?
Yeah, basically exactly the same as Courtney.
You both did imprison twice?
Yeah, imprison, but it did make me think about dropping him down the well. Exactly what you just said kind of prompts you into wanting to do the opposite. But I did stick to... I did stick to my guns and just imprisoned him.
So I guess we all imprisoned him. This episode might have a lot of branching paths. It might.
It feels like it should.
Who knows?
I guess we'll never find out.
Yeah, this podcast sucks.
No.
So you're given a time skip, no matter what you do here, like a couple months in the future. or maybe a couple weeks, a good amount of days in the future. And I think the first thing you see as you're like walking through the business office and Auntie Greenleaf's there, and if you chose to imprison him, she has a crow in a cage, and that's the Crooked Man in crow form, and he just needs to be a crow forever.
Which is a good change. He's better as a crow.
He's better as a crow.
They cut his tongue out as well.
They also cut his tongue out.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Which seems like it seems like a hat on a hat almost. It's
overkill. He's a bird. What's he gonna say?
Yeah,
Birds
like
can
first
talk
you turn him into
sometimes.
a crow so he can't do anything, and then cut out his tongue so he couldn't talk. He couldn't before.
Yeah, just in case.
He was a bird.
If it's a raven, ravens can they can do human speech to some extent.
Oh, I didn't know that. I assumed it was just parrots.
Yeah, ravens can also.
Yeah, no,
imitate human
ravens can
speech.
do some kinds of. I think it's just a crow though.
Yeah. In which case, it's probably overkill.
It looked like a small bird. And then you walk you're on your way walking out the building, and you're walking past this entire line of people waiting to get into the mayor's office. The mayor is revealed to be Snow. And this is a sad moment because the whole deal that she was trying to work toward was making the city actually deal with the people that it's supposed to govern, hearing out the problems. And this whole line of people is there are each individuals that need something dealt with by the government, and the government should be beholden to them. And then Bluebeard just cuts the line, and then she just talks with Bluebeard, and that's what you see. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened before with Crane. The Crooked Man warned Snow that she was becoming just the same as Crane, and he was right. She really is.
Yeah, she doesn't even have time for Bigby. Bigby's like, hey, and she's like, oh, I'm busy right now. And she just goes back in.
Yeah. Snow is a deeply troubling character to me. Because the whole game, she's looking at Crane and she hates Crane because she sees him as this pinnacle of corruption and greed and tyranny and just looking out for just selfishness in general, ruling for the privileges of ruling and not for the responsibility of the people that he's looking out for. And she says, you know what, if I was in charge, I would do things differently. And her way of doing things differently is more by the book, which just cuts the same amount of people out, but in a different way, and she doesn't seem to realize that, up through the entire end of the game. She never turns around on that. She never realizes that her way is actively hurting people pretty much just as much as Crane. Mm-hmm. She just happens to not be a weird, Victorian pervert about it, but she still
I guess that is a step up.
Same. She really is the same as Crane in that way.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll follow up on that in season 2. I mean, we know Snow is in it, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah, because especially in episode 4, she keeps going on okay, what we really need to do to fix the city up is to force everyone who can't afford glamour to leave. Which is horrifying. That's a very weird... It reminds me of sometimes you're talking with a friend who you might not know the political views of, and then they just drop something that you find extremely deeply troubling. And they're like, yeah, everyone thinks that, though, right? No.
No, not really.
No, not the case. We don't all feel that way about how the lower class people need to afford life more. That's not how we all feel. Just a weird vibe from Snow, and I like the character from a writing perspective, but yeah, they're really making me hate the person Snow White in this game a lot.
Yeah, it was one of those, sometimes you gotta warm up to a character and you start liking him more and more over the course of something, but this is the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
It's I liked her at the beginning, and then the longer it went on, I was I don't know.
I was gonna mention exactly that, how in the first episode, Mitch was saying how much he liked Snow and how he was sad that her head came off. And now
Yeah, true.
it's a totally different story.
Yeah, it almost makes me wish her head came off instead of the prostitutes.
Bigby looks her in the eye. I wish your head was on the concrete.
The prostitutes didn't do anything wrong, so, and she did. Just, I mean, you never wish that on a person. Your head coming off is one of the worst things that can happen to you. But,
one of them anyway.
Yeah, it's up there. It's top 10 Wolfe jokes. So then you go outside and you see the flycatcher, who, according to Dustin's roommate Adam, you don't have to see the flycatcher the entire game until now.
Yeah, you just be like, who's this guy?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, who's this guy? He's the Crooked Man. Let's be honest.
I guess it's fine since overall Flycatcher has like zero effect on any of this story. He didn't have to be there at all. So
yeah, he's just a guy.
It's fine that he should. It's weird to me that they would introduce him in the last cutscene, though.
Oh, but I wonder, maybe you'll have to ask Adam about this, but I wonder if you don't meet him if he's not there, because you have to offer him a job. So if you didn't do that, then he wouldn't be back at the Woodlands, maybe.
Oh, no. Adam told me that he's still there.
Oh, okay, well...
Yeah,
weird.
But it's just like you're seeing him for the first time.
Maybe you
he's
have
like,
to
hey,
actively
Bigby, remember me? It's been a
refuse
while.
him the job in order for him.
You don't get to be
don't
here.
Come back.
I never want to see you around these parts again.
That would be wild if that was the way to beat the system and get Toad to not be sent to the farm.
Yeah, he's got
You
no
have
one
to
to drive.
not
That
offer
one-
Flycatcher a job. That's
that one thing that's unrelated. It's like you should have kicked Flycatcher out.
Yeah, but Toad and Toad Jr. are being sent to the farm, and Flycatcher is going to drive.
This sucks. This sucks.
I was
ass.
You can't
mad.
get out of
I
it.
don't
There's nothing you can do. It's happening. Because Snow White sucks.
Yeah, you all heard how I've sung Toad's praises even when he hated me. I love this frogman, and he has to get out of here?
I actually was baffled for a second and wondering if somehow the game had messed up and not carried over my choices or something, because I was like, I did everything.
I would never have done this.
I did everything possible, and even at the end where it gives you all the character related choice breakdown, it's like, you told Snow not to send him to the farm. You gave him money so he could get glamour, whatever. And it's like, no, he's still going.
Yeah.
He spent it on flies.
I mean, it obviously makes sense that in a world like this, some things would just be out of your control, but it doesn't jam with the rest of the game painting the importance of your choices in everything else that happens. It feels weird that Toad has to go, but maybe just for the comics, Toad has to go to the farm.
Yeah. So he can die in a war or whatever.
Yeah, he can die in a war.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Wars.
It's been a while since I looked at the Wikipedia, but they seemed, anyone can write these Wikipedia articles, but they were adamant that they were oh no, the games are separate from the comics, and the Toad from the games is different than the Toad in the comics who dies. And I'm like, well, that sounds weird, but I haven't read the comics, so maybe you're right.
I don't know enough about frogs to dispute it, but...
I'm not a Toad expert. He could be a totally different Mr. Toad.
And then one more thing happens. And this is another big moment. Nerissa shows up to say hi to Bigby, and she lets loose a couple key pieces of info, which is that everything that she said during the trial, where she was saying I was there, I saw the Crooked Man do all the stuff, I can account for it, you should arrest him. She wasn't actually there for it.
She made all of it up.
She made it up, basically because she knew that he did it, and she knew that there would be no proof, so she rationalized it this lie, I have to do it in order for the actual justice to occur.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
Fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with
Who
it.
cares? He's a bird now. It's not like we killed him.
Well, even if we did, he still did
Yeah,
it.
even if we did, it's fine. Yeah.
I'm not like on the fence of whether he did it or not. So like her not physically having the evidence, but like manipulating the system to make it seem like she does. I'm 100% on board with. I backed her up. I said that's fine. Do it again, even.
Do it all the time.
Because I think what they're trying to do here is trying to, like, in case you were still on Snow's side, which you should absolutely not be, but if you were still on her side in trying to make it seem like, well, following the rules is how we are better than everyone else that came before us, Nerissa's maybe supposed to offer this last minute of like objection to that mindset of like, well, I didn't follow the rules, so do you hate me? And if you feel that way about it, maybe this is a big revelation. But for me, I was like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
You're allowed.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever. He's a bird. It's great.
Yeah, he's a bird now. It worked out. You're not a bird.
It worked out for everyone.
So it's fine. But then, she also talks about how no one was picking up the case, so she had to leave those heads on Bigby's doorstep.
That's
so
right.
she was the one that put the heads there. Because no one was paying attention. The city was not investigating. In fact, it made me remember that in episode 1, when you go to the Hollies for the first time, she says her sister's been missing for weeks.
Yeah. I was
and
very
Lily was
confused
the second
about
one we
that
found.
at the time.
Yeah. It without this new information from Nerissa, that doesn't make any sense at all. But I guess it does. They've been dead for weeks. So then Nerissa says some nice stuff to Bigby. They exchange some words, and then she walks away. Then Bigby realizes a bunch of stuff at once, and it's not exactly clear. Like, he hears a bunch of quotes from earlier in the story about Nerissa, about Faith, aka Donkey Skin, about how Donkey Skin adorned the like an ugly mask so people wouldn't know who she was, and then she rode out of town. And maybe they are hinting at the idea that maybe this is actually Faith and she got away. Maybe the Faith that died was
it's because
Nerissa.
She says something that is like really similar, or maybe the exact same thing that Faith said at the beginning to Bigby before she walked away then, which was something like, you're not as bad as they say. And then she leaves.
There's a lot of similarities between Faith and Nerissa. She, earlier, she says, "Do you like my ribbon?" in the exact same way that Faith did. They one of the things he remembers in that moment is that the Dr. Swinehart wanted Faith's body for further testing, so he never actually saw Faith's body. So the glamour could have worn off, and it could have become Nerissa again. Maybe Nerissa was dead the whole time, and the Nerissa that you saw was Faith the whole time. Also, sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say I might need to look up like what people were saying after this episode, like if people were discussing what she meant.
Yeah, I looked up online for some like additional clues or thoughts about, do they mean Nerissa is Faith or Faith is Nerissa? I think they mean Nerissa, the Little Mermaid, was the actual person who died, and that what you've been watching and talking to is Faith. One of the pieces of evidence for that is that the Faith that we thought was Faith was killed before Lily, but we know that Lily was missing for weeks, so Faith must have been dead for weeks too, which means that she couldn't have been there with Woody in episode 1. That had to be someone else. So, like, maybe in that moment she was scoping out, she was pissing off Woody in order to get Bigby there, to scope out Bigby to find out if Bigby was actually a good person and would help them.
Mm-hmm.
And then once she found out he was a good person, she put those heads on the doorstep so he would look into it.
Yeah. Like, I looked it up a little bit too, and it seems like people are kind of split. Like, there's no clear answer that the fandom has ever arrived on if, like, it's clear the implication is that, you know, the person you've been talking with for most of the game is that, like, Faith and Nerissa are the same person, basically. One of them is glamored to look like the other, but it's not, like, a clear, obvious answer on who is the real one and who's been dead.
What a twisty-turny story.
Also, when you ask the magic mirror if it could tell you where Faith was, it can't. And that could either be because of the curse on the necklace, or the ribbon, or because she's dead. Or both. Yeah, so big room for interpretation there. What did you think that meant when you saw it? Either of you, I suppose.
I mean, it took me a minute. Like, I just had to sit and think about it for... Like, it was clear immediately, like, the implication was that somehow that these girls are the same person. Like, maybe the one that you thought was dead isn't really the one that died, etc. But, like, I don't know. There's, like... It feels like one of those things where you'd have to play the entire game over and pay attention and try and see what you think after that. Like, now that you know what you're
really
looking
pick up on the details.
I'm not gonna pay attention, in quotes. That's what I do.
I got a podcast to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was Faith the whole time, and you never talked to Nerissa. I think that's where I'm landing at. But who's to say?
I could buy that.
Who's to say?
Who is to say? Not, like, if you really think about it.
Yeah, our podcast might be one of the more important, like, records of saying things about Telltale, so probably us.
Yeah, probably one of the bigger podcasts out there, so we can make that call.
We're probably the biggest podcast, period.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even going to make a joke in response, because that's just true.
So, with that wrapped up, that's The Wolf Among Us. Courtney, Dustin, as a series, what'd you think?
I liked it a lot. I'm really glad that I decided to play this along with listening to the episodes, and I thank you for having me on for this final one, because I really enjoyed playing it, and I'm glad that it's sort of been like the perfect thing to do. So like I said earlier, I just started a new job recently, and I've been tired, and I haven't had a lot of spare time, but like having this sort of like roughly 2 hours experience every week where it's like not really physically draining, but it's very like mentally and emotionally engaging. It's just been like a really cool thing to have and, you know, play along with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're happy to have you playing along. That didn't really happen with a lot of the early episodes. I kind of wish it did have, you know, having some people playing along with it. You know, that would have been fun to have people, you know, giving their thoughts on Sam and Max and stuff. But I'm glad that it's happening now.
I want to hear everyone's thoughts on Bone Out from Boneville.
Bone Out.
Bone Out from Boneville.
Bone Out,
You say it like that. You say it like that every time.
I would love to bone out someday.
Let's just bone out for a while.
Let's just bone out, guys. Can we chill? Can we bone out? I do say it that way every time because it's the better way to say it.
Any of you guys play Bone the Great Cow Race?
Yeah, I agree. I think I love this series. I love the world of Fables a lot. It's the game that we've played so far that most solidly convinced me maybe I want to check out the rest of the source material.
Yeah.
That I haven't already checked out the source material on. I guess Sam and Max would, but like I've read those comics, I've seen the show, I know the other Sam and Max stuff. I don't know the other Fable stuff. I'd love to read the comics now.
I think
I
this
would love to
game
check that out.
might have some of the best art direction in a game that I've like ever played. Like, I don't know, I just really love the colors.
It's great.
And
Beautiful.
just the character designs and everything.
Yeah, I'll agree with both of those and say, even though I think Walking Dead Season 1 is the stronger of the two games,
Yeah.
I do think this is the better world between the two.
It feels,
I'm just more interested in what it has going on.
It feels really hard to take this in a vacuum. It feels like when Breath of the Wild came out, and then you'd play other... Or at least I had this feeling of, like, I would play other games that were coming out that year that were, like, I'd love them. I really liked them. In any other year, I'd think, like, oh, this is great. But, like, I did just play what might be the best game of all time. Like, it's one of the contenders. It's not my personal choice for best game of all time, but it isn't like my top 10 easy in best games of all time. And whenever that happens, it just turns into a really hard follow-up. And The Walking Dead, straight out of the gate, did this formula better. And I think that's kind of hard to argue.
Yeah. It is the better of the two games,
Yeah.
but also, like, I do think this game does some things better. I do prefer this world of fairy tale creatures living in a more gritty New York City.
Absolutely.
More than I do, like, a zombie apocalypse world.
Excuse me, Dustin. I think you
more.
mean a walker apocalypse.
Well, yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Dustin, we've
My
gotten so
bad.
far.
What a blunder.
What a silly mistake you've made.
Did we bring up that there's deleted dialogue from episode 2 of Walking Dead where they call them zombies?
I don't remember
Mark
doing that.
Mark is talking with Lee, and he straight up says, "I just can't bring myself to call them zombies." And Lee's like, "Nope."
Then yeah, let's not.
And they just cut those lines. I don't know if I would have liked that more or less.
I know that we did bring up the fact that in I think like episode 4 of Walking Dead, you can hover on the zombie kid in the attic. You can hover the cursor on it, and if you click it, it's the UI says, "Do something to zombie boy."
It forgot.
It forgot to say Walker Boy.
Whoops.
Whoops.
A real blunder. Hope someone gets fired for that. Oops, the entire company got fired for that.
Whoops, that's what led to it.
Uh-oh.
But I do, like, it looks better than Walking Dead.
Yeah.
It just looks so good. Walking Dead looks good, but this just looks gorgeous. But yeah, overall, I do think Walking Dead was the stronger of the two games. But this is still a very good, very enjoyable game, even if it was a little more flawed, I think.
Yeah, like I like the way this looks more. I like the music in this more. I like the world of this more. I want to think more about the Wolf Among Us world a lot more than I want to think about the world of The Walking Dead. But like the
I do
gameplay
think
of
Walking
Walking Dead
Dead
is
really
so much stronger. It's
yeah.
so much
I also
stronger.
think Walking Dead kind of sells its characters a little more. I like the characters of Wolf Among Us.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think Walking Dead just pulls it off so well. And, you know, I don't think it's fair to judge Wolf Among Us just in comparison to Walking Dead, I guess. Because it is good. It is. I did like it a lot.
It's the same company in like the same 20 or like 12-month period, though. I don't know. I think it's fair.
I guess that's true.
You do want to view things as they come on their own merits, but
yeah,
I don't.
I guess I'll just say that I enjoyed both of them.
I enjoyed both of them as well. But I think the character thing you brought up is interesting, though. I agree that The Walking Dead definitely sells its characters more, because that's kind of the thing with mascot characters or cartoon characters. When like from the moment we saw Bloody Mary, we were on board. Like, hey, that looks cool. That's all I need to know about Bloody Mary, and that's all they give about Bloody Mary.
Yeah, but with Walking Dead, they have to have a little more to them because you're not going to be like, oh, that classic character Larry.
Yeah, Larry's just like a big guy that you've met in your life and probably didn't like.
Yeah, they have to put more thought into those characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does make sense that Walking Dead's characters come across a little stronger. But I do still really like the characters in this game as well. I like Big B. I like, for a little bit, I like Snow. I like what they do with Snow, even if she turns out to be not great. I like Mr. Toad and his son, and I just like everyone.
Buffkin.
I don't think there's very many. Yeah, Buffkin. Buffkin is great. He sells the whole world.
I don't care about that guy.
Well, we'll see.
Are there any more thoughts about The Wolf Among Us as a whole, or should we jump into our segments for this episode?
I will say that
I'm good.
When I told other people I was playing this, I had quite a few friends say that they were happy I was playing it and that it was really good. People that I wouldn't have expected necessarily had played it, not because I didn't think that, like, I don't know, it's just like something that I guess people don't talk about very often, because, like, this is the sort of game that you sort of experience, and it's a relatively, like, fast thing, and it's, I don't know, like...
Yeah, you're not going to replay it.
Yeah, I mean, you might in like years later to like get the story again, maybe make some different choices. But like, I don't know. It's just kind of like I was surprised that some of the people in my community had played it that had, because I don't know. It's just a lot of people that have played this game clearly really like it and are excited about the sequel. But I just feel like it's not something that's talked about all that much, I guess, because it's not like an epic gamer type of game where you're like, oh, I put 100 hours into this game because it's so addictive. It's like just an experience.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way, because Mitch, you were saying when we like first started doing this podcast that The Wolf Among Us was kind of considered one of the big ones.
It is, yeah.
And I don't doubt that, but you still don't really see a whole lot of people talking about it.
Do you see anyone talking about most Telltale things most of the time?
It really is just Sam and Max, Walking Dead. And even then, Walking Dead, like, as soon as it was over, no one talked about it.
Well, for the longest time, no one talked about Sam and Max, and there's only it happening now because of the VR game, plus the remakes. It's going through a little bit of a revival. But yeah, for the longest time, Sam and Max was completely dead, and no one said anything. And I think that's the problem with Telltale games library, and we found this more as we've gone through it, like, hey, The Wolf Among Us, excellent, like, beginning of a ludographic universe. If you wanted to make this into a shared like game series, you could do it. Or The Walking Dead was a perfect one, and they did do a lot of Walking Dead. Or Sam and Max is a perfect one, but none of it is theirs. They never went this hard on an original idea. They had some...
They're all licensed.
Yeah, they had the poker... Excuse me, the poker games, which the later ones had licensed characters, but the idea was still theirs. And they had Nelson Tethers.
Puzzle Agent. Right,
Puzzle Agent. And that's about it. There's really not much else.
World. I miss the world of Nelson Tethers. I'd play.
I would definitely hunker down on a new Nelson Tethers.
Even if it wasn't that good, I just like the characters and world.
Well, number 2 wasn't that good, so...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I still had a good time with it regardless.
I remember after we played episode 1, I recommended, like, to a bunch of friends on the Discord server that the 3 of us are on, hey, you should all play Nelson Tethers. It's really cool. And then when we played number 2, I went back and I was like, guys, you don't have to... I'm sorry.
Turns out not as cool.
So you're saying that we should take some time out for number 1. But...
Okay. You've been on the podcast for too long. So let's get to our choices. So I think we talked about all our choices. We
mostly lined up with them.
I'll go through them really fast. Before we talk about this, Courtney, what platform did you play this game on?
I am playing it on my Xbox One.
Okay. So you might have the same percentages as Dustin, which, as we've discussed, mean nothing at all.
Yeah.
Because I have 31.4% left Georgie to die.
Let me pull up my notes real quick.
Yeah, Dustin, what do you have while she's pulling up her notes?
54.3% of players killed
Yep, I
George.
got the same as him.
see, that doesn't add up to 100.
That don't add up.
89.6 brought the crooked man back alive. So the fact that this choice exists means that you cannot bring him back alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is great because now Courtney and I are gonna our choice percentages are gonna line up, and we're gonna be like, oh no, see, it's totally cool and fine. It says you and 67.7% of players brought the crooked man back alive.
Too low.
Too low. I don't know what to tell you.
It's too low. 47.4% imprisoned the crooked man.
So for us, it was 40.4. So that's kind of close, you know?
Pretty close. Pretty within the same decade of percentages.
Yeah.
Now, this next one is the highest, most unanimous percentage I've ever seen.
Same here.
Yeah.
What do you have?
You and 97.9% of players decided to accept TJ's gift for Snow.
Yeah.
I have an even higher one.
Wow. Even higher than
98.5% of players accepted TJ's gift for Snow.
Crazy.
Which we all did. Why would you not?
I know, even though Snow didn't deserve it, but, we just had to take that gift, which was a bug, by the way.
We'll accept it. I want to keep it.
Yeah.
I want to feed it to
we don't have to give it to her.
No,
we
I'm
just
not
have
going to do that. 29% had their last... You and 29% had their last words to Narissa be, I've made a lot of mistakes.
Well, see, interestingly enough, I have 29% of people say, I hope I've done some good here.
Me too.
Whoa, it's all 29.
Courtney, did we just make literally every single
Yeah, did you
choice?
just copy my screenshots that I took? Come on.
Did we just become best friends?
Don't look.
He's screen sniping.
Wow. The least exciting cheating in the world to cheat on a Telltale game.
On a Telltale game.
For a podcast where you're hoping to get discussion out of it.
Yeah. Just you're cheating to do worse at a single player game where there's no skill involved. Let's head into our first normal segment, the choice cut.
Boo, 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 boo.
Now, Courtney, I know you listen to the show, but pretending I'm talking to you, but really I'm talking to the listeners. The choice cut is where we talk about our favorite choice that we made in this episode. Who would like to start us off?
I'll go.
Courtney, why don't you start us off, since you're our special guest?
Okay, so I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I liked the choice of whether to throw the crooked man down the well or to imprison him, and I specifically...
This was mine too.
Yeah, I specifically liked it because of the fact that there were characters in the crowd, backing up either choice. So it didn't leave it to just the player or just Big B to make this decision on his own. You could kind of, weigh the opinions of the characters that you liked. And I did like Holly and Gren a lot, and they were the ones telling me to throw him down the well, so, I had to kind of sort of disagree with them. So it made it a lot more interesting than it just being, Big B trying to make this decision on his own.
Yeah.
I was very surprised at how much Gren grew on me as the episodes went.
Same here. I thought I'd hate Gren, but I started to like Gren by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
This was also my choice cut, mostly because of the double take it does, asking you the same question twice, and it feels different the second time somehow.
Mm-hmm.
That's always really cool if they're able to do that. By the way, I just realized that we headed into this episode without doing any of the normal introductory stuff for this episode that we do for every episode. Real quick, this is episode 5 of The Wolf Among Us, called Cry Wolf. It was released on January 8th, 2014, directed by Varum Antonian, designed by Penny and Davis, written by Martinez and Penny. Sorry, everyone that I just read the name of who didn't get their credits until so late in the episode.
Someone made it this far in, and they're like, this is episode 5, oh shit.
Yeah, this is Cry Wolf? I thought this was Wolfenstein 3D, man. I'm way off base.
Shit.
Dustin, what's your choice cut if it's not that one?
So, the interesting thing about this is it's also my choice cut.
What?
But I like that all three of us have different reasons for it.
Is yours because you can rip his head off?
Yes, mine is exactly because I just laughed so hard at that because, like, I wasn't gonna pick it, but that seems like such a wild departure from what you can do. Like, it would be one thing if it was like, imprison him or push him down the well. You just have the choice to rip his head off. You can just do that, and what's to be gained from going down that route?
A head.
Yeah.
You can keep it.
Mounted on your
It's
wall.
like, doesn't feel so good when it's your head, does it, buddy?
I mean,
it made me really be like, I really want to see what happens, but I'm gonna be a good boy.
this is definitely the choice to choose this episode. It makes sense that we all converged on it as our choice cut.
Yeah.
It's the best, most interesting, most well executed choice. Probably, I want to say in the game, as a whole across all 5 episodes.
Yeah, but I'll say this. I also feel like overall the choices in this game, some of them are really good like this, but, well, I guess there's good ones sprinkled throughout, but I really don't think about, like, the quote-unquote big choices, like the ones with the percentages.
Yeah.
Those choices I don't think are very great. Like, they make sense to have because they're kind of where the story differences can go, but they're not, like, choices I really think about.
Yeah, I liked letting Georgie Porgy suffer. And that was not on the list. No, it was on the list. Sorry, I lied. It was.
It was.
Yeah, never mind. Of course it was. It's a big one. I don't know what I'm talking about. The next segment is the weekly guy. Who is your weekly guy this week?
Courtney, why don't you
I
start?
started it last time.
Okay,
You're
I'll go.
right.
I'll go.
I'll start.
My weekly guy was Nerissa again. I really like the idea of, look, I knew he was guilty. I just had to lie to say some shit that people believed in order to get him to be guilty. But yeah, I lied about it. I like that the presentation of that moral ambiguity a lot. My weekly guy might be Snow just because of I hate her as a person, but the way that character is written, I think, is so clever and very. I respond to that kind of character a lot. It elicits big emotions in my tum-tum. But I am going to go with Nerissa.
I think I'm going to go with Bloody Mary. Just
Yeah,
because
hell yeah.
what they do with her is really cool in this episode. And like I said, it's not like she's a deep character. They just really go all out with her theming. Like, her demon form is such a cool design with the glass shards sticking out of her. And then when she brings, like, reflections of herself in, that's just, like, I wouldn't have thought to do that. That's just such a cool idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. I totally get that. Courtney.
Well, I haven't done it yet because it feels weird to choose the main character in a story where, like, your choices make up, like, their actions. So it's like, I've hesitated to say Big B on any of these episodes so far when I was doing just my, like, personal segments because it's like, it's weird to say, oh, I love Big B so much because he does what I told him to do. But I gotta give
I
it
agree
to
with him the most.
Yeah. he got his shining moment to be a big wolf, and you know, I do really like him as a character, and you know, this is his grand finale. You know, at least the way I played him, he's trying to do his best, even though he's not perfect. And I just kind of liked the character that I shaped him into, but also I think I would just like him regardless. It's just this interesting, you know, idea of the big bad wolf trying to reform himself and stuck in this interesting position, solving a mystery. So I gotta give it to him.
Totally agreed. I didn't think I would like Big B as much as I ended up liking him. He just feels very... I don't know if relatable is the right word.
I also live with the pig, yeah.
Yeah, because, like... yeah. But I like that he tries to do his best, but he does have those moments where he just wolfs out. Like he gets angry. You see him it also depends on some of the choices you make, but even sometimes when you don't, you get to see him like fuck this.
We do call that wolfing out. I'm glad that you get the terminology right. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
If I were to, all those are really good weekly guys. I think they're all strong. Someone I would give the unweekly guy to this episode, I think I'd have to slip it to the Crooked Man. Just as a villain, I don't know if he does his job in bringing that kind of... he's neither so arch that it's like unbelievable and cartoony and fun, or so realistic that you just sort of go with it.
Yeah, I think what they do with him is fine, like in the trial scene, but him as a character, I think, is kind of... Who cares? He's not like this iconic villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just he's not that interesting.
Yeah, and I guess he's never gonna have a chance to be interesting because he's a bird.
Unless
like
the bird comes back.
Or
his
dead.
design, I don't know if this is pulled from the comics or whatever, but I feel like they could have gone further with the idea of a crooked man too. Like he could have had like limbs bending the wrong way and just been like really cool looking.
Yeah.
Instead, he just kind of
totally.
was like old and maybe a...
He has the eye
he's got
thing.
the eye thing, but...
Yeah, he could have been Mandelbrot shaped. Like, there's a lot of interesting directions they could have gone with him, and he's just sort of like, kinda has a limp.
Yeah.
Which, it's a little boring. Golden moment. My golden moment, I think... I have a few different options written here, and like I don't even really know what I'm picking. I think it's the puddin' and pie.
The scene with Georgie and Vivian?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
But I know that both of yours is Big Wolf.
He was big.
He was a
Yeah,
big
you know.
wolf.
I will say I like that whole scene for more than just Big Wolf, but Big Wolf does play a big part of it.
For sure.
It did
And I
feel
think
really...
that's fine.
Yeah, it felt really climactic. It,
Yeah. Mitch, I really like your pick just because that scene at the Pudding and Pie, it's such a good mixture of both like serene but intense at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you're getting so much from these two characters, but there's like no one else here. There's no one else like coming for you. There's not like any time limit here. You're just talking to these characters while one is dying and one is about to die.
Yeah, it's climactic, but the stakes are weirdly low.
Yeah, it's a nice mix.
It's a nice mix. Well, that's been our episode. That's been Telling the Tale, episode... where we've covered episode 5 of The Wolf Among Us, Cry Wolf. I've been Mitchell Wolf. Dustin Jackson. Well, Jackson? Is it?
Jackson.
Is it? Now,
you got it the second time.
Now, who is that? Is that Dustin Jackman?
Is that young Dustin Jackson? Oh, he's lovely. I always loved that Jackson kid.
And we're...
Thank you, Grandma.
We're joined today, again, by... Courtney, quote, alter mentality, unquote. Courtney, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at that name, Alter Mentality, on Twitter or Twitch. Those are my main places that I hang out these days. Or my webcomic, which can be found at thefourthcomic.com.
Thefourthcomic.com. I'm kind of amazed
Wonderful
you got that
comic.
URL. I'm amazed you got that URL. That's a cool URL.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We've had it for almost 11 years now.
Wow. For our listeners, you spell out the word fourth?
Yes. TheFourth comic. You probably know how to spell comic, so I'm not going to spell it out.
Fair enough. Yeah, I did actually. You're right. And until next time, Dustin, what are we going to play next time?
I believe next time we're going to be talking about both Poker Night at the Inventory games.
I think we are. I think we're going to do a double-decker episode covering both Poker Night at the Inventory games. 1 and 2. Featuring both Sam from Sam and Max, and Borderlands,
Wow.
and other things.
Strong Bad.
Strong Bad is in it. Ash from Evil Dead is in it for some reason.
That Penny Arcade guy, isn't it?
The Penny Arcade guy is in it for some reason.
That's so weird. That's the weirdest one.
For some reason, Ash still strikes me as a weirder choice than the Penny Arcade guy, but they're both weird as hell. They don't belong. There was never... Well, at this point in Telltale, they were like buddy-buddy with Steam, and or with Valve, I guess. And...
Yeah, so it makes sense why you'd have, like, the Heavy there.
Well, it's funny looking back that anyone thought they were a friend of Valve when Valve nowadays is just like the biggest company. Like, you can't be a friend of it. They're just a monolith. They're just such a large thing. So yeah. Well, that's been our show. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, we'll see ya.
I won't
smell you later.
See ya, but it's been nice. Bye.